ancestral lands of the Paiute, Shoshone, and Washoe tribes, who have stewarded this land for many years. We owe a profound debt to our Indigenous neighbors, and with that in mind, I welcome you to this place. Whether you are inside our great room or on Zoom airways, we welcome you regardless of age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, you name it, you are welcome here, and we are glad you are here. Those of you on Zoom will remain muted during the service, but you can put comments in the chat box, and you can also stay on following the service for coffee time and conversations. So no matter where you are today, welcome. Later on in this service, we will be having a sharing of some joys and sorrows. If you wish to have a joy or sorrow lifted up, you'll find a form like this in the back pocket of a seat. Please fill, oops, I'm sorry, wrong form. This form, not the yellow one, the white one. Please fill it out and give it to me during our time of greeting. If you're on Zoom, you can put your joys and sorrows into the chat. If you would like to learn more about Unitarian Universalism, please see myself or talk to one of our greeters or check a book out of the library. If you want to sign up for our weekly email newsletter, this is what you fill out to get on our website. Our September board listening Sunday happens to be today after the service. You can come and ask questions of the Board of Trustees and share your views of the fellowship. This will be in person in the library, which is just catty corner from here in this building. And if you stay online in the worship Zoom, the session will begin right after the service during the virtual coffee hour, and we hope to see you here. And now, Al Fahrenberg is going to present a climate note.
Probably got the order of that wrong. A lot of times when people talk about climate, they talk about things that are going to take a really long time. You know, we talk about decades, you talk about legislation that won't have an effect for several years. But there's something that's going on right now that is going to affect all of us here in northern Nevada, if in fact it happens. And that is the fact that the Nevada Energy Company, who provides us all our electricity, is now in the process of requesting a rate restructuring through the Public Utilities Commission. And this rate restructuring, the intent of this is to, well, not the intent, the actual fact of it is that they're going to raise the basic fee that we all pay, whether we use any electricity or not, which is now $16. They're going to raise that to $48. And then correspondingly, they will reduce the cost per kilowatt hour. Now, that may sound like a good thing to some people, but think about what that really means. That means people that use lots and lots of electricity are going to get a benefit from this. It's going to drop their rate. And the people who have been trying to conserve, who have been maybe putting up solar panels, putting in a heat pump, insulating their house, turning their thermostat up, those people are going to pay more for their electricity now. And so this is a very bad thing to happen from the standpoint of conservation and climate change. And we'd like you all to do something about that. And what you can do, by the way, this is going to be voted on by the Public Utilities Commission, possibly Tuesday, if not Tuesday, very shortly thereafter. And you can contact the Public Utilities Commission, and you can voice your concern about this. And I put together a bunch of little slips of paper that are sitting out there on the reading table. If you can pick one of those up, there's a phone number you can call, and there is a email that you can send, but calling is actually better. So please take a look at that and consider calling them up. Thank you.
And now please take a few minutes to greet one another in whichever way is comfortable for you, a hug, handshake, wave. If you're on Zoom, you can make a sign to greet each other. And when you hear the singing bowl being rung, you'll know it's time to return to your seat. We missed one very important announcement, and Lois Bianchi is going to come up and give it to us.
We have a very exciting program that we're going to start next Sunday, It will be the fourth Sunday of every month, and it's to honor our families. And it will be a family service, we will be coming together at 5:30, and we will be ending at 7. It'll start with dinner, and our families are our guests. So I have sent out a sheet online to sign up to bring food for that night. So if you're interested in helping out on the fourth Sunday of every month, let me know. We're doing kid-friendly food, and we're doing adult food. And the idea is to come together and eat a meal together, and then Nathan will be providing a spiritual family service. And everyone's invited. It's not just for families, but if you want to come and get to know our families better, you are invited to come a week from today, 5:30. I hope I made that clear. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Chris Pecars, and my preferred pronouns are he, his, him. And I'm pleased to be serving as your worship leader today. Since I first volunteered to be a worship associate and then a worship leader, I've been up here in the pulpit 28 times. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me as much as I've enjoyed speaking to you. And I hope we can continue this relationship far into the future. Since I started doing services, I've kept notes and ideas I have for reflections, openings, and so on my phone here. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were driving home from dinner, and I told her that none of my current ideas really fit with this month's theme, welcome, and that I was struggling to conceptualize my reflection for today's service. She just laughed at me. She said, "Really? You're struggling with welcome as a topic?" In 5 minutes during that drive home from dinner, she bullet pointed the reflection you're going to hear today. So she gets a byline for helping put this together. I want to give a shout out again to our virtual attendees and apologize to them once again. I apologize to them in chat, but if you were here a couple of weeks ago, I did a visualization exercise where imagining all of our virtual people sitting in these chairs, and by the way, we have 21 people on Zoom today. And I noted how much bigger our community is with them than without. I promised that if they put their joys and sorrows in the chat box, I would share them out to the larger community, and I forgot to share them out. So I'm offering that invitation again to our Zoomers to share their joys and sorrows, and I promise to do my best not to muck it up again. And now to light our chalice. Gaia? I was feeling a bit of whimsy when I was looking for chalice words and trying to come up with my own. And I settled on the poem Actions by Shel Silverstein. If we meet and I say hi, that's salutation. If you ask me how I feel, that's consideration. If we stop and talk a while, that's conversation. If we understand each other, that's communication. If we argue, scream, and fight, that's altercation. If later we apologize, that's reconciliation. If we help each other home, that's cooperation. And add all these actions up, they make civilization. And if I might say, is this a wonderful poem or is that an exaggeration? And now, please rise as you're willing or able to join us in singing our opening hymn, number 131 in the gray hymnal, Love Will Guide Us. The lyrics will also be up on the screen.
This morning, I'm sharing with you the book, The Welcome Chair by Rosemary Wells. And I'm saying I'm sharing it because sometimes I'll be reading it and sometimes I'll be telling it in my own words. When the author, Rosemary Wells, was about 10 years old, her grandmother shared with her the diary written in German by Rosemary's great-great-grandmother, who emigrated to the United States in about the 1820s or 1830s, before there was a Statue of Liberty in the New York harbor. Other of her grandparents emigrated later when the statue was there to greet them. The author writes, "Almost everyone who came to America escaped something: dictators, natural disasters, wars, famine, religious discrimination. In New York Harbor, Miss Liberty opened her arms to them." The author bemoans that our country now has some leaders who do not welcome immigrants. So she decided to write a book about a chair that her great-great-grandmother had written about in her diary, a chair that welcomed members of her family for generations. But the diary ended in 1918, so the author needed to bring it up to date, and she used stories about people that she met in Connecticut, where she now lives. There were two nuns who had escaped the dictator Trujillo in Santo Domingo in the 1950s, and emigrated to New Jersey. There was her daughter's best friend, who in 2010 helped rescue efforts after the terrible earthquake in Haiti. And more recently, there was a Syrian family who was sponsored by a church to live in Stamford, where the author lives. Altogether now, this is their story and the story of the welcome chair. The author's great-great-grandfather was born in 1807 in the Kingdom of Bavaria, which is now the very southern part of Germany. His name was Samuel Siegbert. His father and his grandfather were both rabbis, and the family assumed that Samuel would also be a rabbi. But Samuel loved to work with his hands, carving wood in particular, and he did not like that he was bullied for being Jewish. So when he was 16, he decided he would make a different life for himself in America. He left his family home and he walked to the north for 3 months until he came to the port of Hamburg in what is now northern Germany. There he found work as a deckhand on a freighter, and he began a 6-week voyage to New York City. The city was dirty and terrifying and beautiful all at the same time, and Sam walked through the neighborhoods till he found a carpenter shop belonging to a German-speaking family, because at that point, Sam only spoke German. He must have presented himself well, because the carpenter hired him to be an apprentice. And when the carpenter and his wife had a baby, Sam made a cherry wood rocking chair where the mother could sit comfortably with her baby son. Sam carved the word Willkommen, German for welcome, across the back, welcoming the baby into the world. A year later, the carpenter and his family got a letter from a brother in what would become the state of Wisconsin, urging them to come west. And they do go, inviting Sam Seigbert to come with them. They all board a brand new Erie Canal boat that takes them all across New York State to the town of Buffalo. And from there they travel by a wagon train to Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, on the Mississippi River. And the rocking chair goes with them. Sam quickly finds work as a carpenter, and he also meets a lovely young woman, Ruth, whom he soon marries. When their first child, Henry, is born, Sam carves Baruch haba, Hebrew for welcome, right under Willkommen on the rocking chair, so that Henry will know his Jewish heritage. In 1861, the Civil War comes to America, and Henry is old enough to join the army to fight for his country and against slavery. The Seigbert family waves goodbye to Henry, and the welcome chair is set out on the porch, awaiting Henry's return. Henry's little sister, Helen, says, "Well, we live in America, not Germany," and she makes her father carve welcome in English into the chair. But Henry does not come home. He's killed at the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863. In 1880, Helen Seigbert marries and moves to New York City with her husband. The welcome chair is sent to them from Wisconsin by train and put in the sewing room of their house. Helen hires a young Irish woman named Lucy Kennedy to sew clothes for them. Lucy came to America because people in Ireland were starving. Now she sits in the rocking chair and sews beautiful dresses. When Lucy marries a doorman from the Plaza Hotel, Helen gives them the chair as a wedding present. But first, she orders brass letters for it, spelling Hülta, Irish for welcome. After almost 50 more years of use, the rocking chair is broken and splintered and left on the sidewalk for the junk man to pick up. But a Salvation Army truck sees it first and picks it up. Now it is 1939, and 2 young nuns who are nurses are taking care of the poor and the sick in the Dominican Republic. The country's ruled by a cruel dictator, Rafael Trujillo, who jails and kills people who challenge his rule. Nuns aren't afraid to protest the dictator, and for that, they are imprisoned. But because they help a sick guard with their nursing skills, they are allowed to escape. And they manage to get on a boat bound for New Jersey, where they begin a new life. When they shop for some furniture, they find a rocking chair at the Salvation Army store. It says welcome in 3 languages. So with a penknife, they scratch the Spanish word bienvenido on the back of the chair. The welcome chair remains with them for the rest of their lives, more than 50 years, and then it is placed in a rummage sale. Pearl Bouquet's mother finds the chair, the Salvation Army, at the rummage sale and takes it home to be Pearl's homework chair. One day, the family learns of a terrible earthquake that has crippled the country of Haiti. Pearl's father is a doctor, and he goes to Haiti to help the Red Cross take care of the injured. When he returns, he brings with him a baby, Jean-Marie, whose parents were killed in the earthquake. He becomes a little brother to Pearl, and to welcome Jean-Marie into the family, Pearl chisels the Haitian Creole word bienveni below the Spanish benvenido. At church one day, on a Sunday, in 2016, Pearl learns from the priest that a family from Syria has escaped a devastating war in their country and come to the U.S. They have a 10-year-old daughter like Pearl. They need help, says the priest. They have nothing. Pearl knows just what she wants to give them, making sure it's okay with Jean-Marie, since it's his family's welcome chair. Pearl goes to the public library to find the word she wants to carve into the chair, and she does so with Father's help. Alan wa salan. With this Arabic word, the chair welcomes a Syrian family into their new home.
And now is the time for our prayers and meditations. First, I would like to lift up in joy the firefighters and first responders who stopped the Davis fire. I don't know if you're aware of it, but we were actually here at the fellowship under an evacuation notice, not an official evacuation, but be prepared to evacuate. And Carol, our office administrator, evacuated our cherished artifacts, which is why we have this substitute chalice today. So our chalice is safe at home with her, and I think this is a fitting memento to those people who stopped what could have been a very serious fire. I have a sorrow to lift up from Jennifer Cochran for her niece, Amy. Please lift her up, Amy, as she awaits the pathology reports for cancer. She is 35 and has 4 young children. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to you. Pat Gormley would like to raise up Sahale, who fell and broke her femur and her hip. She works full-time, so this is obviously going to be a financial burden for her. So please send her healing and strength in this time. And finally, a joy, it's Ari Silva's birthday today. Hey. And now I'm looking at the and now I'm looking at the chats to see if any of our Zoomers. So note Zoomers, I didn't forget. Okay, I do not see any. Thank you. We'll be doing the breathing meditation from our teal hymnal, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's a singing, it's a chant type of meditation. If you don't really need to get the hymnal, and if you don't know the words or don't want to sing, feel free to just hum or drone along with the meditation, but it's fairly straightforward and you'll figure it out. So, take a moment to settle in your seat. Plant your feet on the floor and ground yourself. Feel your connection to the earth, to the interconnectedness of which we are all a part. If you wish, you can close your eyes or unfocus your vision. And now, bring your attention to your breath. Breathe in, hold a moment, exhale with a whoosh. And again, breathe in, hold, one more time. Breathe in, hold. I don't usually like to start speeches by quoting the dictionary, but I'm breaking my own rule today because I've never really given thought to what the word welcome actually means. I mean, it's a good word, certainly, and it implies good things, but I've never picked at the specifics before. Welcome has many meanings. To name just a few, as a verb, it's to greet hospitably with courtesy or cordiality. As an adjective, it's to be received gladly into one's presence or companionship, or as an interjection to express greeting to a newcomer or a guest on arrival. Anyway, the first point Eileen made on our drive home from dinner was that she comes from a very welcoming family. Her parents, Heppy and Randy, both unfortunately deceased now, were warm and friendly. When I first came a courtin', the unspoken rules were simple. Eileen had to like me, and I had to treat her well. After that, there were no other rules. No questions were asked of my prospects, no notice made when I dropped out of college, or what job I was currently working or had recently lost. No lectures or admonishments of any kind. Eileen's acceptance for me and her desire to be with me was all that counted. And as far as her parents were concerned, I was a Randolph with full Randolph family privileges until Eileen rescinded that acceptance, which I'm happy to say she hasn't done yet. When Eileen's sister started dating a person of color in the late 70s, they took her aside not to forbid the relationship, but to tell her that she might be subject to hatred or prejudice or harmful words, and that they were there to protect her and help her work through whatever might happen. When Eileen was 17, her parents asked her what girl a male friend of hers was dating, and Eileen told them, "He doesn't date girls, he's gay." Their next question, does that make things harder for him in school, or does he have support there? It's the kind of people they were. But their welcome extended just beyond the paramours of their offspring. Heppy's son Tim once described Heppy as an adopter of strays. And when they were growing up, they had a menagerie of pets, at one point reaching 4 dogs and a cat, all of them found on the streets somewhere and given a home. But beyond that, Happy adopted stray people, particularly teenage friends of her children. Despite being a house of modest means, all were welcome at dinner. Should extra mouths arrive unannounced, spaghetti or tacos would be stretched out, or the meatloaf sliced a little thinner to feed all. And their welcome went beyond that. If a friend was having a difficult time at home, they were welcome to spend the night, a week, or a month living with the Randolphs. Happy's only requirement was that the stray had to call their parents and let them know where they were staying and what the phone number was. She wouldn't allow them to hide from their families. Many strays are still a part of the Randolph clan, even though the attachment has nothing to do with blood or marriage. But as far as the family is concerned, they are family. The Randolph family bond is as close to unconditional love as I've encountered in my life. And once all the children left the nest, Happy continued to adopt strays. She would visit nursing homes and assisted living facilities, and if she found someone who didn't have much in the way of friends or family, she would become their friend, running errands for them, taking them to the nail salon or out shopping, or just visiting and chatting for an hour or two, a practice she continued right up until the end of her life. The real beauty of Happy and Randy's gift is that each of their offspring developed welcoming houses of their own. All of them who have children turn their homes into the place where their kids' friends could hang out. And all of them continued the tradition of adopting strays, those who needed a safe or quiet place to hang out, get a meal or late night snack, or to stay for a few days or weeks. That welcoming umbrella has now extended out to the great-grandkids and to the nieces and nephews, who now have families of their own. From their own example, Happy and Randy have created an ever-expanding web of welcoming people, a generosity of spirit in the Randolph clan that will far outlive me. The second point Eileen made was that I have a welcoming heart, which I do. Much of this I actually learned by being part of the Randolphs, but it was always in my nature. Part of the reason for this is a little bit selfish. I'm a very strong extrovert, and I draw strength from being around and involved with people. When I'm alone for too long, I get depressed and morose, and a little bit feral. So I seek out others just based on who I am. As I'm sure most of the older folks here know, as you age, your friend group tends to shrink, not so much for mortality, but just from time and distance as people move around. Part of why I came to UFNN was I was feeling that decline in the number of friends I had, and I'm happy to report that now my life overflows with friendships. But what I've really learned here, by being a Unitarian Universalist, is how to truly be a welcoming person. Our tradition of acceptance, of treating all with respect, of a mutual assistance as we move along as each of us move along on our life journey, has connected me more to our common humanity than I ever imagined. Now, one of my great joys is visiting our national parks and being surrounded by people from all over the world, listening to the wide variety of languages being spoken all around me, a kaleidoscope of different cultures and experiences gathered together to share in the natural splendor preserved in our national parks. By becoming more welcome, by opening my heart, I've become more tightly bound to our shared world, and I can notice that all of humanity appreciates the majesty of Half Dome, of Mount Shasta, the Grand Canyon. And just as a side note, I'm thankful that our country has set these beautiful places aside versus letting them become exploited as happened in other parts of the world. Eileen's third point was the power of welcome, or more precisely, using your power or position to welcome others. Eileen works in affordable housing, and like many of us, it's a career she fell into rather than planned for. Her degree is in biology, and her first real job was as a lab assistant. When the grant she was working under ran out and she was laid off, she did some community activism work, and that led to a job offer from a small nonprofit here in Reno that built affordable housing in our community. Shortly after she began that job, her boss, Ann, introduced her to one of her colleagues, a gentleman named Dave. Just one of those sort of random things that happens when you're in a new job. Fast forward 6 months, and Eileen is at her first housing conference. Not surprisingly, she knows nobody there. Dave spots her from across the hall, walks up to her, and reintroduces himself, and introduces her, and welcomes her to the conference. Later, while at the typical conference hour, Dave again noticed Eileen off by herself. When Eileen was telling me this story, she noted that how, even as an adult, we all kind of feel that almost teenage awkwardness in a new space. You know, you're kind of waiting for someone to call you up to play basketball, and you're the last one picked. So that's what she was feeling at this conference. Dave pulls her into the group he's talking to and introduces her around to the 5 or 6 housing people he's talking to. The next day, he cuts in line while she's picking up box lunch, takes her with him to another table full of housing people, and by the end of that convention, Eileen had met a dozen or more people, all working in housing, and all because Dave used his connections, his position of power, his place in that community, to make sure she was welcomed into affordable housing. As sometimes happens in specialized business niches, Dave became Eileen's boss just a few years ago at her current position. They have an annual office week, and during the office week, Eileen told some of her colleagues about Dave's welcoming her into the housing community and how much of a difference that made in her budding career. To her surprise, person after person related a near identical story of Dave shepherding them into the housing community at conventions, business meetings, and so on. He has literally spent his career and his positional capital welcoming newcomers into affordable housing and ensuring they had the connections and access to the skills they needed to succeed in their new positions or in their new careers. Dave is an example of using your power, your position, to welcome newcomers. And that's a power we all have. It can be as simple as bringing cookies to a new neighbor and welcoming to the neighborhood. Or it can be telling someone who is new to Reno what restaurants you like, where to find reliable daycare, a good dentist. Or maybe it's mentoring new employees, tutoring exchange students, or as we have done here at UUFNN, helping immigrants or refugees, or I lost the word, refugees or who is seeking shelter here? Asylum, thank you, asylum. And that was us as an accepting community, welcoming people, using our place in the community to help them find a place in the community. It's not just being kind and accepting, it's leveraging what we have to lift up others that come to us. It's the opposite of preaching exclusion, it's embracing the power of inclusion. The lifting up of others is the true magic of being welcoming. As I said earlier, that feeling was cultivated in me in part by belonging to a welcoming family. But where I really feel it is here inside these walls. We as a faith tradition and as a community more deliberately cultivate welcome, talk about it, and try to put it into action. And I think that is one of our strongest traits. We are imperfect, and we don't always succeed in extending that perfect welcome. Sometimes we can be cliquish, sometimes we don't notice the new person among us. But still we strive, we work out to reach, connect, and make that ever, again to quote Merriam-Webster, to greet hospitably with courtesy or cordiality. I am called back to our UU values, the gold of world, community, and peace, liberty and justice for all, and respect for the independent web of all existence of which we are a part. We are united in our broad and inclusive outlook, and in our values, and in our shared experience. What we do with our beliefs is important, and with a welcoming heart, and by sharing the power we have through welcome, we can bring our community and ourselves closer to the higher aspiration of our values. Thank you all, and bless you.
circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide. Draw the circle, draw the circle wide.
UUFNN is supported entirely by the generosity of its congregation. As we receive from this fellowship, so we give our financial support for its work within our community here and the work we do in the larger community. For those who are physically here in the great room, we'll be passing the basket. For those on Zoom, you can make your offering virtually by texting 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box, hit send, and follow instructions. Each month here at UUFNN, we share our plate offering with a local nonprofit. This month's recipient is it Monai? Monai Village. The founder and director is Patricia Artis, who's here today to tell us about the program.
Thank you for your interest and support of Menai Village. I've been a foster parent in Washoe County for almost 40 years. During that time, my husband and I have shared our home with over 100 children of all ages. I've witnessed the struggles of youth aging out of foster care. I watched as our foster sons joined the national statistics that within a year, approximately 46% will have contact with the criminal justice system or be incarcerated. And within 18 months of leaving the foster care system, 40 to 50% become homeless, even if they started out with an alternative living situation. And I knew there had to be a better plan. Menai Village is my dream for better outcomes for this very vulnerable population. I believe that when the need for a safe, affordable place to live is no longer an all-consuming, stress-inducing issue, these young people will be able to focus on acquiring the skills necessary to live successful, independent, and stable lives. The ultimate goal being that they become contributing members of our community. I wanted to share this with you. This is my bigger vision of Menai Village. Menai means a temporary resting place for travelers on their journey. It's about community and supporting one another. One of the most significant pieces missing in the lives of these young people is the loss of family support and connection. That just seems to be inherent in the foster care system, one of the flaws we haven't been able to quite work out yet. I believe Menai Village can provide that support and connection. This bigger vision will take time. I realized that I needed to start on a smaller scale, and thanks to the generous support of the women from my church and the full congregation at Reno First United Methodist Church, I found the courage to make a start. In December 2023, I got the chance to test my beliefs. We began a pilot program with 2 young men who were aging out of the foster care system or about to. I found a property management company that was willing to forego all the usual requirements of tenants and work with us to give these guys a chance. We helped them by securing individual apartments, subsidizing a portion of their rent, paying initial food and household supplies, and ongoing services such as weekly grocery shopping, transportation to appointments, budgeting, menu planning, problem solving, and helping them think about what their future could be. The first young man we accepted into the program was a senior in high school with the dream of going to a junior college to play basketball. He had struggled in the foster care system, often running away and being difficult to work with. Although he was capable of academic success, he hadn't always worked up to his potential. But in his senior year, he was really making an effort. His social worker knew he wasn't a good fit for typical foster care and asked us to consider him. So we did. And he flourished with his home situation stable. Sorry. That still gets me. Okay. Feeling safe and secure and having a support system, he was able to focus on his academics and his training. In June, he graduated from high school, and on August 19th, moved to Butte Community College, where he will have, oh my gosh, I didn't do this. He would have the opportunity to advance his basketball skills and continue his education. The first time I ever took him shopping, he wandered the grocery store completely lost. I'm thinking, okay, you're a teenage boy. You have the opportunity to choose whatever food you want to choose. And he had no idea what to choose. He asked me what he should buy. And I said, well, think about what you like to eat. And then think about what we can prepare in the kitchen that you have. And that didn't help a whole lot. And he told me eventually it's really hard to shop because no one ever asked me what I wanted to eat. Food was just put in front of me, and I ate it, or I went hungry. That was so sad to me, and yet I realized I had heard that many times from the children who shared my home. It was a great day when I could drive him to the grocery store, and he said, "You can stay in the car. I've got this." And he did. He bought his groceries, and he was conscientious about it, thinking about food and nutrition, and it was very impressive. When we had kids close to aging out in foster care in our own home, we attended meetings to help identify their plans for turning 18. I was haunted by the fear and blank expressions on their faces as the reality of this situation hit them. They didn't know what to do, and they had nowhere to go. I longed for the day when I could attend one of those meetings and say, this is a choice you have. An apartment, okay. Okay, I'll speed ahead here. Today we're supporting 4 young people and soon a 5th. I met with a young woman on Wednesday who couldn't even hold her head up and look at me because she was so consumed with the worry of what's going to happen and where will she go and what will she do. And I talked to her about Menai Village, and the next day she filled out her application and she's on her way to beginning a new future. And I know I'm going over, but I just want to say Menai Village is not a dream I can fulfill on my own. It is because of people like you that we can significantly impact the lives of these young people who are our future. For those of you who like to know numbers, it costs us about $1,400 a month per youth to provide the supports and services we do. This is over and above what the youth themselves contribute. It perhaps sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to the cost of incarceration, mental or physical health care that arises from homelessness, maybe it's not so bad. And to me, as I see the confidence and security of these young people grow, it's money well spent. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Will the ushers come forward, please?
Streams of mercy never ceasing,
Would you join Nancy and me in blessing our offering? To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
And now it is time to extinguish our chalice. Please rise as you are willing or able to sing our closing hymn, number 1014 in the teal hymnal, Answering the Call of Love. Lyrics will also be on the screen.
Promise of the Spirit, faithful and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly held, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not decline. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of
Please remain standing for our benedictions. We're doing both a spoken and a choral benediction to end today's service. If you'd like to join hands, feel free. If you're more comfortable, you can simply cross your hands over your heart. Surrounded by the blessings of this community of care and love, we carry the promise and purpose of welcome forward from our sacred space and time together. Our worship is over, and may our welcoming begin.